Welcome everybody to the Depths of Motherhood podcast. This is a special season dedicated to the tribe of the mother, but also I know any mothers listening will find this extremely valuable. I've created each episode to offer simple, digestible, and supportive information, which I hope will educate and inspire anyone who listens. So this is by popular demand. Please help us to educate and support the tribe holding the mother. Look forward to passionate and highly knowledgeable guests dedicated to reclaiming the essence of birth and embracing conscious parenting. Throughout our time together, our guests will serve as the guiding voices, illuminating the path towards a deeper understanding of preconception, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. This is with the mother and the baby being the center of the exploration. In the show notes, you'll discover the link to Nourished Mother package, which will offer many different resources to complement each episode. This is free for all members in the Women's Circle, or £33 for everybody who just wants to purchase the package. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible guests and immense gratitude to my partner for supporting me on this creation. And finally, last but not least, special thank you to Araya, my daughter, for being the endless well of inspiration. Welcome everybody to this week's episode. Today we are talking all about the placenta with Jessica Freedman. Jessica is a childbirth educator and doula, spinning babies certified parent educator, pre- and postnatal yoga and fitness teacher, and a mother of two. This conversation brought me back to when I was 4 months pregnant and flying from France to Costa Rica, which is where I would give birth to Araya. And I was reading this book called Placenta, The Forgotten Chakra by Robin Lim. And this book moved me to tears. It opened up something deep inside of me. I had never heard anyone talking about the placenta in such a way that it moved beyond the physical and into this emotional and spiritual connection. I'd never really spent much time thinking about the placenta, and the only thing that really came to mind was the cutting of the cord in the movie scenes. I never questioned about the timing of the cord cutting or what happened to the placenta afterwards. It was like the eyes were then moved to the mother and the baby, and the placenta was forgotten about. So I got off that plane, and my heart and my mind were so open. And I was so excited to birth my placenta. And I really wanted to keep the umbilical cord attached as long as possible. I actually had this vision that I would be doing a lotus birth where you wait until the umbilical cord dries out and detaches on its own. And then I would plant it in the garden and a tree would grow from it. But if you've listened to my birth story, it didn't go that way at all. I'll leave the link in the show notes for my full story. So this conversation with Jessica really reminded me of so much, and it brought to the surface these emotions that I experienced when I first started connecting to the placenta. And I also did a lot of work with my own placenta whilst I was in my mother's womb. And recently in the Women's Circle, we did a meditation to go back to when we came from the womb to Earthside and that moment of detaching from the placenta. And what's been interesting is when I've begun to ask my own mother, my grandmother when she was alive, or friends and family, what happened to your placenta, or what happened to your child's placenta? There is a pause, almost like, oh, no one's ever asked me that before. And with so many of the stories, the placenta ends up in clinical waste. And we had another episode more around what happens with that. I'll leave the link in the show notes, so if you would like to go in deeper into that conversation. And also in that episode, we talk about placenta consumption as well. In this conversation, Jessica did such an incredible job to support us in understanding the role of the placenta, which can also help us to make decisions in the future when it comes to childbirth. In the show notes, I will also guide you to the Nourished Mother package, where I will drop in the meditation I spoke about earlier, with this coming from the womb and coming earthside for ourselves. So that will sit right next to the video, the raw footage from this conversation. Thank you all for your patience. Again, these episodes are having about 2 weeks in between right now because I'm coming to settle after traveling from Peru. And actually, after the last recording I did with the introduction, my voice completely went the next day. So I was so glad I got a chance to record it. And I am just on the other side of that healing journey. This week we've had my mum and dad over from England, and it's been so beautiful to see their relationship with Araya and just see how it blossoms. And now Araya's older, she's 3 years old. She can just go to their apartment, which is just above us, and go and hang out with them. And now she's talking so much as well. It's just beautiful to see how much of a surprise and a gift that is for her grandparents to be able to now more deeply communicate, because it wasn't until Araya was 1 year old that she actually met my mum and dad, which is crazy because we're so close. And then again, they met her when she was 2. And so this is like it's her 4th time actually, but now this relationship has just got so much deeper, and it's so, so beautiful. And the final thing I mention is we have our next Women's Circle on the 28th of July, which is a Sunday, and it will be at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. If you can't make the live, then it will be recorded. And in this circle, we are going deep into our connection with the earth. If we think about it, if the stories that we've heard are true, then the earth gave birth to our first ancestors, even though they would have been single cell life forms. They came from the earth, which means that the earth is our greatest grandmother, and that we are all brothers and sisters, cousins, aunties and uncles of this earth. And I want to go deeper than just these words that maybe you've heard as quotes on Instagram, but to really feel through sensation what that means. Where did the block come from our connection to the earth that gives us food, that gives us water, that holds us, that keeps us safe, that provides us with everything that we need to survive? And we might never know. We can just be playing on ideas and thoughts. That's true. But as we come to see that and hold space for it, then we can clear that channel and know that, yeah, it might not be easy to really experience the connection with the earth, but we can create moments in time to fully bring our awareness into that knowing and alter our state so we can feel it again. And with this, it is just reclaiming that relationship with our ancestors, and also bringing us into a different state of being where we can begin to choose things in our lives, the decisions we make, the thoughts we have, that will better serve ourselves and bring us closer to actually who we really are, beyond all of these products and foods and ideas that are sold to us. So before we go into this beautiful conversation with Jessica, I'd just like to remind you that all of her information is in the show notes. Her Instagram link is Mama Shakti Prenatal. And I want to say thank you so much to Jessica for the time and the effort and the energy that she put into this conversation. So let's take a deep breath in and bring our awareness to our belly button. As you breathe in, imagine a flower opening in your belly button, its petals opening. And as you exhale, they're gently coming together and closing. Just take that breath 2 more times with the opening of the petals as you inhale and the closing as you exhale. And maybe you can notice a color or a size of the flower, and just come to tune into gratitude for the space where your umbilical cord was attached, where your placenta nourished you, was the bridge between you and your mother. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
And where in the world are you?
So right now we are on the island of Penang in Malaysia, and we are in the city of Georgetown, which is a really wonderful, culturally diverse city and full of art and just culture and people who are beautiful and bright and vibrant. So we're really enjoying our time here.
I love it. And we're trading places to travel. So
Yeah.
very excited. And tell me about how you got into the work that you do.
Sure. So a very, very long time ago when I was in college, I was pre-med. And so I have a degree in biology and a degree in chemistry. I was very gung-ho on being a medical doctor. And toward the end of my schooling, as it came time to apply for med schools or grad schools, I wasn't really sure what direction I was going to go. I realized that the way traditional medicine was going, I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to go that path. So, because I had science degrees, I ended up going into education at our local zoo called Busch Gardens. And I was an education specialist in the zoo for many years. And then while I was in the zoo, I got certified teaching yoga back in the early 2000s. It was kind of like the wild, wild west in yoga. Like there were no rules. If you wanted to do certifications, you just kind of found the best one. And somebody said, "Hey, do you teach pregnant people?" And I was like, "No, but I'll give it a go." So I started working with moms who were pregnant and learning their bodies. And I had not been pregnant yet. I had not been a mother yet. And just being around my pregnant students and clients taught me a lot on my own. And then fast forward to 2011, I had my first baby and I got certified in prenatal yoga. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And a year ago, I got certified as a birth doula, and actually about a year and a half ago, but I started working as a birth doula about a year and a half ago. And around that time, I became a childbirth educator and I became a postpartum and pregnancy corrective exercise specialist. And I'm just always looking to, oh, and last October, I became a spinning babies certified parent educator. So I'm always looking for pregnancy, birth, and postpartum knowledge and experience that will enhance my understanding of pregnancy and postpartum and fertility. And I mean, just all of the layers of motherhood from before we become mothers until we are transitioning through menopause and just all of the sacred stages of motherhood. So I'm always looking to learn, always looking to grow and expand my education, my knowledge, so I can better serve my community.
Thank you so much for
Did that answer?
oh, it's beautiful. It gets me so hearing all the things I'm learning about. So today we're going to talk actually about the placenta. Oh, the sacred placenta. I mean, when I went through my pregnancy, I had not really heard much about the placenta until I read the book Placenta Chakra. You've read it? Am I saying it right?
No, yeah, well, yes, you are. But I haven't read that yet. I think somebody else just recommended that book to me. There's several really good books on the placenta, and there's some good articles that I'm going to recommend in this podcast too about the placenta. So there's so much to learn about it. It's so fascinating.
And it opened my eyes because this is more of the spiritual aspect. It does go into all different aspects of the placenta, but really it was more of this deep connection. And today we are going to explore so much about what the placenta does and how it supports the mother and the baby. But to begin, let's find out, what is the placenta?
Yes. So the placenta is the only organ that a woman's body can grow just during pregnancy. So it plays a crucial role in the development and nourishment of the fetus. It is a temporary organ. So your body grows it, and then after pregnancy, your body expels it. It is baby's first protector or baby's first warrior. There's a big nod to the energy of the placenta because of the crucial role that it plays in keeping baby alive and nourishing baby. And so if you want to get down into the science, which is, my original kind of background is in science, but then I transformed over the years to become more of an energy type worker, if you will. But I love to always nod to my roots of science. So when we talk about what the key roles of the placenta are, it is responsible for nutrient and oxygen transfer. So that primary function of your baby's placenta is to facilitate the exchange of nutrients, oxygen, and waste products between mother and developing fetus. So a lot of people, like, for example, if you've ever seen a water birth video and the baby's head has been born, but it might take another minute or so for the rest of the body to be born, people are always jumping in the comments on social media saying, why are they drowning that baby? But what they don't understand yet is baby is not breathing air yet because they are still connected to the umbilical cord, which is connected to the placenta, which is providing them all of the oxygen that they need. So that's pretty cool. I think that that's pretty amazing. Placenta acts as a protective barrier, preventing harmful substances from crossing through, like certain drug interactions. However, it's not perfect barrier. So we do need to be mindful of what we ingest during pregnancy, right? Hormone production. So our placenta is responsible for a lot of hormones. The number one hormone that we talk about a lot is the HCG, or that human chorionic gonadotropin. I always get a little stumbled with that one, big word. But that one, HCG starts being produced after the placenta, after implantation of the embryo in the womb, in the uterus. And it's crucial for sustaining the early days of pregnancy. Also, what's really important to note is women who experience severe morning sickness or nausea, they are said to have higher levels of HCG. So that's just an interesting little connection there. So we talked a little bit about how the placenta is responsible for waste elimination, helping to get rid of waste products that baby produces while in utero, endocrine function, as well as that HCG hormone that it makes. It also makes some other really important hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and human placental lactogen. And these are all essential for maintaining pregnancy, basically, and fetal development. They also play a big role in the start and the progression of labor. It's important for fetal development, amniotic fluid production, and throughout pregnancy, our placenta undergoes changes and adaptations to meet the dynamic needs of your baby. So it's just really fascinating. And I've got long typed out notes that I'll share with your readers too, that go into much more detail than that.
Wow, it does so much. And when does the placenta start to develop?
So right after implantation of the uterus. So what's interesting, I think our society and most societies in general in the world don't do a super great job at explaining how pregnancy actually happens. I mean, we know how pregnancy happens. From the time of conception, a lot of folks that I talk to, and myself included, before I ever went through a childbirth educator course, thought that you had intercourse and that right away you had a fertilized egg and you were pregnant. But from time of conception, it can take a few days for the sperm to penetrate the egg. And then once it penetrates the egg and fertilization takes place, the egg will travel down to the uterus. And it can take up to 6 more days for that to happen. That will then implant in the uterine wall. And once you have successful implantation, then the development begins, the placenta begins to develop, and everything just kind of goes from there.
This is it, just learning this information that surprisingly, but not really, we didn't get taught in school.
No, I mean, they don't teach this in a health class, right?
So one of the topics that I really wanted to be covered, because I asked the listeners, hey, what do you want to learn? Because I'm getting some incredible people on who have lots of knowledge and wisdom. And one of the questions was about what the medical system would call post-term, which I think is big. Is it beyond 41 weeks?
As I travel, I find that it depends on the country. Yes, I would say in US and in many other countries, physicians start to get worried past 41 weeks. However, many obstetrical bodies say that a normal average pregnancy is anywhere from 38 to 42 weeks. Then we have to kind of rewind a little bit too, because when we talk about somebody being 41 weeks pregnant, they determine pregnancy from the date of your last menstrual period. But we don't know when implantation actually took place. So that due date can be off from anywhere from like 7 to 10 days on average. So if you're saying somebody is 41 weeks pregnant, are they really? Unless you have known when that exact date of implantation occurred, like let's say somebody's going through a fertility journey or IVF or whatnot, and they know the exact implantation date, we can't be 100% sure that that they're 41 weeks.
So there's not this definite date. But what does that mean when people are being told that they're putting their baby at risk going beyond 41 weeks, 42 weeks?
Yeah. And I like to reference one of my favorite midwives who is also a researcher. She's an author. Her name is Dr. Sarah Wickham. She has done extensive research on this, and I'm going to quote her. So I don't get this wrong, I'm going to read it. The concerns of prenatal providers with women going past 41 weeks of gestation is that the placenta won't be working efficiently anymore. They're told that their baby's placenta is aging or insufficient. I would like to quote the midwife, author, and researcher, Dr. Sarah Wickham, on this topic. She says, there is no evidence to suggest that there is a correlation between placental insufficiency and length of pregnancy. As an OB friend of mine says, if a woman's placenta isn't working well at 23 weeks of pregnancy, it likely will not be working well at 39 weeks of pregnancy. But if it's working well at 40 weeks of pregnancy or 41 weeks, there's no good reason to think that going a few more days or a week past that time is suddenly your placenta is suddenly going to decline over the next few days. Dr. Sarah Wickham has also said that one of her favorite articles to refer to people is an article called The Myth of the Aging Placenta by Dr. Sophie Messenger. When my clients are told that they're putting their baby at risk due to aging placenta or placental insufficiency, I refer them to these two articles because they're the leading experts in placenta research.
I know Sophie. I've had her on before talking about rebosos. The same person?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, I had her on. She was talking all about rebosos. I didn't actually know that she wrote that article, which is very cool. We'll put all of this for sure in the show notes.
Yeah. Yes.
So why do you think the medical system is pushing for injections past this time? What interest do they have in doing that?
Well, okay. So, there are a few different things. There are medical conditions that physicians are. I like to stay very neutral when I'm talking about obstetrical and midwifery care because I think both are great. And I think that the birth care and prenatal care that a mother gets is dependent upon a case by case situation. So some people are going to thrive with midwives and some people are going to thrive with OBs. That being said, current obstetrical practices, it's no big secret that a lot of the stuff that they're practicing now is outdated. It's what was determined in the 50s and 60s as standard of care, and a lot of it's under review right now. And I don't think I am speaking out of turn here. I've had my OB friends say this themselves. A lot of these conditions that they're scared of are being reviewed right now, but there's not maybe a lot of definite research. They're scared of things like fetal distress, of increasing risks for stillbirth. They're afraid of the baby growing too big, the fetal macrosomia. And the bigger a baby gets, the thought in obstetrics is the more likelihood it increases their chance for shoulder dystocia. But it's such a small percentage that when we're looking at the numbers, we really have to understand how to read the numbers in research. If your chances are being increased by 1%, we've really got to look at the cases and see what those numbers are. Because is it 1% in general, or is it just like a fraction of a percentage? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it really just came to mind how important this conversation is for the tribe of the mother, because they have this beautiful role of investigating this a little bit further and bringing this information forward in a way that's accessible and digestible to the mother if she doesn't want to read it herself, if other things are going off that are taking her priorities. So just getting educated on this so that there is a wider understanding of what is actually happening, what is the role of the placenta, and what is the studies that are bringing medical system to say it is unsafe or you need to be induced. And I think this is the whole awakening journey right now. Our evolution as human beings is to have the information. And I know that there's a lot. That's why we're doing these conversations, to kind of bring you the stuff that will be able to nourish you and put you in a direction where you can make that informed decision. And so
Right.
in some cases, I'm sure there is a need for an induction.
Mhm.
What things stand out to you that just to be aware of?
Yeah. So keeping in mind too that I am a birth support person, so I am not a medical provider. And in saying that, I do not give medical advice. However, what I do provide my clients and my community with are good questions and talking points to bring to their providers when there are medical reasons for induction. That's important, right? Things like gestational diabetes, if mother has preeclampsia, if there are obvious health issues with the baby, if mom has obvious health issues and they need to induce for those reasons, because going full term would put her at risk. There's a big difference between elective induction and medical induction. Those are two very different things. And I've supported people in both medical inductions and elective inductions. And actually, all the people I've ever supported in birth with medical induction, they've had swimmingly good births and labors. I have yet to support a elective induction of labor that was not extremely challenging for the mother and the family. I stay neutral. I'm not saying one way or the other. I think this is good. I think this is bad. I think that they're good when they're good for the right people. And if that makes sense. I think when you're discussing elective inductions, there's some very important talking points that you need to discuss with your provider. And this is, are we considering the family's birthing values? Does this align with your birth values and what you expect out of your childbirth experience? Is the family being properly educated on what all an induction entails, an elective induction entails? Do they have the mental and emotional support to withstand a potentially very long and challenging labor and birthing scenario over the course of a day or 2 days, especially if the cervix isn't favorable? And then, what are their thoughts are on unplanned cesarean section? How long will their provider let them go through the laboring experience before they start discussing cesarean birth? And I mean, there's so many things to take into account here. And I think that that's where a lot of people are failed the most is they're not properly educated. Families are failed by not being educated enough in what all inductions it entails. So they get there thinking that it's just going to go smoothly and everything's going to unravel the way it needs to. And when it doesn't, they're thrown for a loop.
And I wanted to say thank you for all that information that you shared, because the thing that comes up as you're sharing this is, yes, we have every right to have this information, and it's the thing that will change our birthing experience.
Big shout out to our sponsor, Evolving Humans, who are the pioneers for energy healing. This practice that I was taught 4 years ago has been studied by researchers all around the world to provide evidence of the physiological effects of energy healing. And I'm not just saying this because it's a promotion, but I have used this practice every single day for 4 years, and personally I've noticed the most impact in my emotional state. This energy practice taught me how to feel energy in my body and observe the sensations. The technique involves you using your hand and connecting to the energy field within your body. And with this gentle, loving awareness that you bring to the table, everything is seen and lived. The whole being comes into alignment. During the birth of my daughter, I tore, and the discomfort that I was experiencing with this tear started to ease up dramatically when I would use this technique. In the show notes, you'll find the link to Evolving Humans so that you can explore this healing technique, which is available through a course that you can join today.
Okay, mommy. So I'm going to ask you, does the placenta continue to function after the baby is born? And if so, how long for?
Sure. So I think it's important to talk a little bit about what that third stage of labor is, because once you've actually birthed the baby, then you have to birth the placenta. Not everybody knows that. Even with all of the wonderful education that we get from folks on social media, I think it's still important to say, like, you still have a third stage of labor, which is birthing the placenta. And that comes anytime from a few minutes to a half an hour after baby's born. And once the placenta detaches from the uterine wall and is expelled or delivered, then it is no longer connected to maternal circulation, and the role in supporting pregnancy comes to an end. But then we get into the whole delayed or optimal cord clamping and what's still going on with exchange between the placenta and the baby in those last few minutes or however long it might take. And so I wanted to touch a little bit on optimal cord clamping for baby. All right. So, there's kind of a gold standard among like midwifery providers and doulas where everybody says, well, how long do I wait? Because my hospital says that they only do 60 seconds. And I've heard that I need to go at least like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And there's no set time, but there is visual that we look for. And that is that our cord goes limp and white. So it is no longer pulsating, and it is no longer delivering that last amount of really good blood to baby. What I did link in the podcast notes was an article by ACOG, which is the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists. And they put out a fantastic article that talks about all of the wonderful benefits that baby get from doing optimal or delayed cord clamping. And we know that it increases their iron stores and the red blood count. There are specific benefits for term babies and for early babies too. And it helps with things like immunity later on in life. There's so many benefits to it. But what I hear some people say is, well, what about the potential risk associated with it? In ACOG's reports, they found that there was very little risk to doing optimal or delayed cord clamping. The two things that you hear the most discussed are that baby will be jaundiced or that there's a potential for postpartum hemorrhage of mother. They actually, in this article, say that they have found no correlation between optimal cord clamping and postpartum hemorrhage of mom, and that jaundice is easily treated in newborns with a little bit of phototherapy or light therapy. So, for example, I'll share something really personal, really quick. We did delayed cord clamping with my first, and I think it was like 5 minutes, maybe, that it took his cord to go limp and white. And he did get jaundice, not super bad. But for the first week of his life, I sat out in the early morning sun with him naked. So he was naked and we did skin to skin. And within, I think, 5 days his jaundice was completely fine. So we just did 10 minutes of early morning fun, and there's no side effect of babies being a little jaundiced. One of the biggest benefits that I wanted to point out for both term and early babies is that adaptation to extrauterine life or life outside the womb. It helps babies adapt to life outside the womb with a little more ease. And when we're talking about like, what are the things we can do with our newborns to give them kind of a leg up? Why wouldn't we do that? I don't know, personal opinion. Oh, just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And thanks for adding the part about the sun and the jaundice, and all these things are so intertwined as well. And it's been really actually interesting to try and separate all of these topics, that I'm bringing on the podcast, because so many go into another thing and it's all together for the health of the mother and the baby. But I
Yes.
just love these questions that you've offered in these stories as well, just to get a bigger picture of what's happening and what can happen, and the questions that we can ask to support ourselves. Because I think the biggest thing sometimes is not knowing what to ask. Maybe a feeling inside that something doesn't feel quite right, but not really knowing what to ask and who to. So this just really opens up so much for families. And it's so interesting as we've been doing this conversation, because my daughter, as I was mentioning, usually records later on at night. So I left my partner crawling under the desk just now. If you can just read and move, crawling under, and like, just walk behind me. So now I think running around in the garden, and oh, it's so funny. And my daughter's like, "Mom, I need a poo," and I'm just so hilarious. It's my life. So thank you for being like, you didn't know what was going on, but that's what was happening if I was smiling. And to the listeners,
Yeah.
for watching the recording, then you'll maybe see a few shakes under the table and a little one running behind me. Thank you.
Well, that's the beautiful part of motherhood, though, right? That we get to have these conversations while our real life is happening at our feet and all around us, quite literally. So,
exactly. Is there anything else that you want to add? You've shared so much. You put so much into this episode, but is there anything else that's
wow.
awake?
I'm looking back through my notes, and I think we did a pretty good job of covering everything. That, a lot of these questions are important to ask your prenatal provider and to know that you don't have to just go with the first person. What I encourage moms to do and families to do is interview some people. Interview a couple of providers. You don't have to go with the first one that crosses your path, or even the one that you've had for years and years. If it doesn't feel like a right fit, if they don't support your birthing values and choices, it's okay to look for somebody who does. And that's what I think is my biggest takeaway. If I could not share anything else, is that your provider is going to be part of your birth team, and the people that you pick on to be part of your birth team are going to either serve you with the highest love and honoring, or they could potentially hinder your birth experience. And we don't want that, right? We want to have the best birth experience, no matter the outcome that we can possibly have. So, take your time and interview and ask these important questions. Do they support delayed cord clamping? Will they, do these things that help you feel like you're getting the support that you deserve? So,
Yes, that's so beautifully put. And these conversations, finding people like yourself and just empowering the tribe, gives the mother someone to maybe speak for them if they need that, or like share this information, or just advocate in the way that the mother would prefer, that feels good for them. Length that expands that support network so the body can be relaxed, so the nervous system can be soothed. And like you said, we don't know what the outcome will be, but we can prepare. We can expand our knowledge on things. Thank you for
yeah,
and
you're
thank you for
welcome.
sharing with me and my little family. Where can the listeners find you, and what do you have to offer right now?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on social media on Instagram and TikTok at Mama Shakti Prenatal, and that's MAMASHAKTI prenatal. And that simply means Mama Shakti means Mama Power. So I'm here to bring power and strength to all my beautiful moms and their families. And then you can sign up for my newsletter where I share tips like this all the time. And I don't spam your inboxes. I only send one, maybe two emails. And you can find that link on my social media and my link tree to sign up for my newsletter. I give lots of subscriber benefits and yoga practices for my beautiful subscribers. And I'm going to be releasing a mindfulness birth preparation course right before Christmas. So, about a week before Christmas, to my subscribers, I'm going to be sharing that link for them to get it early. And the first 50 people that respond to that email will get the course for free. So, people say all the time, oh, I won't win. I've only had 3 people respond. So there's still 47 places for people to get that mindful birthing course, birth prep course for free. So sign up for my newsletter. It's in my latest newsletter, and you'll be able to reply and hopefully be one of the lucky 50 that win that birth course.
Wow, you're offering so much. And share this,
Yeah.
mind me, and I can put it on my social media as well.
Cool.
Thank you so much.